Everyone, uh, we are live now, but we are not going to start until 1 p.m. So it's just kind of getting ourselves online, checking to see if you guys are doing well, checking to see if you guys are well, if everything is okay with you. So we will definitely start exactly at 2 p.m. But 2 p.m. at 1 p.m. But for now, it's just checking out technology, and I'm glad Isabella is already online. Good afternoon, Isabella.
Good afternoon, Claire. How are you doing?
I am well, thank you. And you?
I am fine. How's the weather?
Oh, the British weather. They say the thing that the British people talk about the most is weather,
Yes.
weather, weather,
Yeah.
weather. So
Yeah.
today, it's almost seeming like it's gonna rain, but I am actually preventing myself from talking about the weather, just kind of in a way, focus a little bit.
Yeah. I think for me, I am really appreciative that it's not
Mm,
hot. It's not. I'm very grateful that it's not
mm,
hot as the other areas. But
yeah,
I'm ready.
absolutely. And that's one of the things that I'm also so grateful, because I feel like sometimes we complain a lot about the weather being too hot, being too cold. And when you think about some places where there is currently like wildfires and things like that, it leaves you really humbled to know when you have good weather to be grateful. Anyway, that brings us exactly to 1 p.m. So we will make an official start. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good day, depending on where you're watching us from today. I'm glad that you could be able to get this channel and you could be able to find us. Glad that you are watching with us, or maybe if you're watching this in replay, it's a really good thing that we can be able to connect together. We can be able to get to catch up this afternoon. I'm so grateful and I'm so thankful for all of you, for the support that you give me and for helping me do this. A little bit about myself, a quick introduction before I hand over to my guest today. My name is Claire. I am the founder of this channel, so I love everything about nutrition. I am passionate about having healthy bodies, and that's the reason why I talk about nutrition and health on this channel. I am a registered nutritionist, and as a day job, I work at a local university in the United Kingdom. And that's somehow through my work commitments how I came to meet with my guest today. And it gives me so much pleasure to be able to chat to her. I don't want to go so much into too much details because today is not about me, but it is about my guest. And I really want to introduce my guest to you. Just a little bit of housekeeping. If you are watching in time live right now, if you just maybe leave it in the chat, comment, and let us know where you're watching from. If you have any questions for Dr. Nyambayo, please leave them in the comment section. We will be able to come to them at some point and be able to answer those questions before the end of today. If you're new here, welcome so much. I'm glad to have you. If you can consider subscribing, liking, sharing this content, if you find it's something that is useful for you, that you think it can be useful for other people as well, that will be amazing. For those who are returning viewers and returning subscribers, I'm so forever indebted and grateful because you get to support the thing that we do, and that keeps us moving and motivating us to continue keeping up. And so, without too much wasting of time, I'll go straight into introducing my guest today. And I just thought before I do that, to give a little bit of a shout out to Abby, who was here on Wednesday, and she did an amazing job. Yesterday, I got this little girl, Michelle. I know she will be watching at some point with my little man. I just want to honor you yesterday for coming over, and you're like, I'm going to do something on your channel. Thank you so much. I can see my sister is online, Connie. I really appreciate you so much to see you online. It kind of motivates me when I see my blood relations encouraging me so much. I'm feeling like I'm going to be very emotional at the moment, but I really want to keep professionally and continue to be professional. So, without wasting so much time, I'm going to go straight into my guest and introduce to you my guest today, to this audience and to these viewers. Good afternoon, Dr. Nyambayo.
Good afternoon, Claire.
Dr. Nyambayo, would you please introduce yourself? Tell our audience this afternoon, who are you, so that they can know exactly who are they catching up with this afternoon.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Claire, for having me. And thank you so much, the audience, for coming to listening to me. My name is Dr. Isabella Nyambayo, like what Claire have said. We've met with Claire through work, but I think we have a common passion of seeding in the community. And part of seeding in the community is doing what we're doing, talking to people, sharing our expertise, and also be in a position to learn from us, from the path that we have gone through to be where we
Mm,
are today.
mm,
So I am an assistant professor in food science and nutrition, and I'm a registered center scientist.
mm,
I'm a chartered scientist through the Science Council, and I'm also a registered nutritionist through uh, Association for Nutrition. I
mm,
also have got other memberships such as Nutrition Society and the Royal Society of Chemistry. And
mm,
all these accreditations helps me actually to really perform on my job
mm,
as a professional and also as an advocate for health and
mm.
someone who really wants to actually sit in the community,
Yeah.
because I'm actually looking at myself that at some point I will be probably sitting in the nursing home, Claire, and
Uh,
I'll
you've
be
said
look,
that to me before.
and then I'll be looking back and say, the food in my plate has it actually been done well? You know,
Mm,
you know the assessment of nutrients in my menu, is they have they been actually been done well? So I actually
mm,
feel like I'm feeding into the community so that I'll get back the uh, work that I've put in when I'm sitting
yeah.
in the nursing home one day.
And just to encourage you, Isabella, before you go on, one of our students is watching and says, "Hello, my favorite lecturer." So that should encourage you to know the work that you're doing, or the work we are doing, imparting onto the lives of students and people, is not in vain. So carry on.
Yes, thank you so much for that. All right. Hello, my students. Now you actually been able to know why I actually take time to explain the things that I explain, because I'm so
Mm,
passionate about people learning and actually getting concepts right. Because once
mm,
they get the concept right, it's very easy for them to apply themselves in the community.
mm,
So I'm a full-time assistant professor working at a local university in Coventry, and
mm.
that is my full-time job. But
Yeah,
during my part-time job, I like helping the community. So I run sessions during lunchtime for master students. I also do webinars with the Global Harmonization Initiative.
yeah,
I also work with IFST to actually come up with short courses to train food scientists when they're
yeah,
in the job and know how to apply themselves.
yeah.
I am also mentoring students who finish their nutrition degree,
Mm-hmm.
and when they are registered as associate nutritionist and they want to know what is in the industry, uh, as people who are practicing, or as people who are going to be nutritionists in the food industry, I mentor
Mm-hmm.
those ones. And a lot of times students come to me and say, Dr. Nyambaya, how do I do consultation? Or Dr. Nyambaya, how do you apply nutrition assessment in foods, like probably plant-based foods? How do we assess nutrients in baby foods? So I tend to mentor um, nutritionists who are going into the food industry. I also like a lot to do these talk shows.
Mm.
Lunchtime, it's my best lunch that I actually have, to, to talk to people and know that I've shared whatever I've shared, and people have gone out to actually apply themselves from the
Yeah.
things that I've shared with them.
Yeah. Amazing. That was quite an amazing introduction of yourself. And for those who will be wondering, Isabella and myself worked together for almost 6 years. When I joined a local university, the first day at work, I was still wondering, like in Swahili, we have a saying that says, kukumgeni hakosi kamba mguni. Like I was really a new chicken. Direct translation will always have a thread or a string on the leg. And I felt like that when I arrived in Coventry University, but Isabella kind of took me like a hen under the with the cheeks under the wings, and she was just kind of there constantly encouraging me. She will talk to me about how can you progress with this, how can you do research, and as I mentioned in one post that I was describing Isabella, we've ended up even being co-authors. We've written stuff together. We've supervised students together, and kind of in a way, I really enjoy working with Isabella. And Isabella was going to talk a little bit about her experiences and her little bit of her journey. But I feel at this moment, I'm just going to make a little bit of shout outs because there are quite a few people that are joining and are letting us know where they're joining us from. So if you haven't done that already, put it in the chat. Let us know where you're joining us from. Feel free to share these if you feel like somebody will be able to benefit from there. I'm so glad to see my sister-in-law Chela is watching. That's really amazing. I'm so glad that she can come and do that this afternoon. Scholastica, thank you so much. That's our student. Isabella and myself have shared
Oh, thank you,
teachings
Scholastica.
together. Yeah, and it's so amazing to see that, as I said already. And I've got other many more people that will be joining, dipping in and out as they go along as we continue with this 1 hour. So, Isabella, talk a little bit to us about your experiences. I'm sure you didn't just wake up in the morning and you are in England teaching as an assistant professor, which means you've gotten a PhD, definitely to be able to be in that position where you are. That's why at the beginning I called you Dr. Nyambayo, because you have like a doctor of philosophy. Definitely you are not born and bred in the UK, so you have come from somewhere else and now you're thriving, doing and running a career in the UK. Take us through a little bit of your journey. How have you gotten to where you are at the moment?
All right, that's a very good question, Claire. If I could probably take you through, I'll start from, I think, a saying that every African person would know: a girl child.
Mm,
Girl child in Africa is somebody who used to get second fiddle to everything.
mm.
And you would find that I come from a family of 11 people. Yeah, football team of 11.
Plus a sub.
And probably my mom was the referee and my dad was the linesman.
Yeah.
so, so and then from there it's 8 girls and 4 boys.
Mm,
And as a girl child, I found myself in a situation where the boys would actually be given more um, support financially in terms of going to school and
mm-hmm.
everything else. And me as a girl child and in a family of 8 girls, I actually found myself like, I don't think there is any hope at all of
Yeah.
getting anything out of myself.
Yeah.
But I told myself that, you know what? Where there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah.
What do I want for myself? I would pray about it, and I would come up with physical things and practical things to actually do, to say, I am 8 years now, right?
Mm,
But I'm not going to have a PhD at 8 years,
yeah.
because I had a role model who was my uncle.
Mm,
Um, he came from a very poor background. His father was a communal farmer who used to
yeah.
look after cattle, and you would be milking the kettles and selling the milk to the community.
Mm,
But he actually managed to get to school. He managed to get a degree in chemistry, and he
yeah.
also managed to get a PhD in chemistry. So
Wow.
to me, that was a role model. But
Mm,
I was tempted to feel like this is a man. So probably it's easy for him because he's a man.
Yeah.
But me as a girl, I don't think I'll be able to. But I looked at it and say, he did it,
Mm,
right? Me, I am a girl. I'm in a situation where I'm from a family of 11, but I will be in a position to get something out of it. I want
mm,
to have a PhD like my uncle,
wow.
right? And that was at 8 years old.
Mm,
So I was looking at it and saying, how is it? And I was like, okay, in what way? In what area do I actually want to have a PhD in?
mm,
And in Africa, I think people would relate that if someone is big, big build is associated with wealth
wealth.
and good
Mm,
living,
mm,
right? But what was worrying me is these people who were big, I was hearing so and so have died sudden death.
mm,
So and so has got so many maids around him because they can't walk, they can't do this. There are
mm,
so many obese.
mm,
So my part that was seeded from there was, I want to be a solution for those
yeah,
people who are actually in this situation where they are. Yes, they are wealthy, but they are not happy because their health is
yeah.
not making them enjoy the wealth that they have.
Mm,
So that's where I started nurturing my profession around. I want to
mm,
look into nutrition. I want to look at the biochemistry. What
yeah.
actually happens when we eat the food? Or I
Mm,
want to go into how the food is actually being produced. So whatever they eat is actually healthier and supports them in these conditions that they are. I want them
yeah.
to be in a position to enjoy the money. And once they enjoy the money, they can share the money with everybody else.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I was like, you know what? I want to. And then I was like, yeah, but there are all these things that people say, um, so and so comes from this family, so they're big builds. So which means there is something like a family tree, family
Mm,
traits, right? Or people who come from this area like this, like for example, would actually like say to ourselves, the body structure that you have can tell you which part of the region that you are coming from. All
mm-hmm.
right. So I was like,
Yeah.
there are all other things that are there already, which are known, but
Yeah.
I don't understand how this. I was like, when I do this PhD, I'll be able to have answers for it.
Absolutely.
Right? So I looked at it and say, I want to be a solution to hypertension,
Mm,
diabetes, and
mm,
overweight.
mm,
And that's what made me to actually study food science and to study nutrition.
mm. Wow. And so, talk us a little bit about your journey transitioning from where you were born. You didn't say where you're born for sure. I know you can say it by yourself to where the journey that this passion has taken you through to what you're doing at the moment.
So, yes, thank you so much, Claire, for that question. Sorry, I had not answered the question fully. I was born in Zimbabwe, in a province called Manicaland.
Hmm.
And during my time, there were no secondary schools within. So I went to a boarding school. At the moment I finished my primary school, I went into a boarding school, and I was doing sciences. And I went again to boarding school for O levels and boarding schools for A levels. Then after
Mm,
that, I went to University of Zimbabwe and I studied applied biology and biochemistry. And then when I was studying the applied biology and biochemistry, I went for a 1 year placement with Liver Brothers. So
oh,
that's
wow.
when the love for food developed.
So those who don't know what liver brothers are, those are the Unilever. So they are the ones like in Kenya who produce and manufacture things like Blueband,
Yes,
Omo, all those
yes,
kind of things. Yeah.
yes. And I I was supposed to only have 1 year with Liver Brothers, but because of how I was performing and all the stuff, that you said, can we actually take part of your time that when you are in back in uni, you can do whatever your uni activities, and then you can still come and help us.
Yeah.
so,
Wow.
so I ended up being with Unilever for about 22 months
Okay.
instead of only 11 months. So it was actually like a very good opportunity to learn on how food is produced from farm to
Mm,
fork. What are the quality assurance? How do you improve quality? How do you make sure that food meets the nutrient need for the people? And that fed really into my degree of applied biology and biochemistry. And then when I finished, I said, I like to be in industry, but at the same time, I still have my goal of being a PhD person. Now I know that I can do it in food science and biochemistry. So I've identified my area of study. So now what can I do in terms of achieving it? And I said, it's good that the industry is offering me all this, but I really want to actually start some more. So I just woke up one day and I said to my friend is actually here in UK, the one that I was, and she was supposed to even join today. And she's called Lynn, if she's on the list. All right. I was staying with Lynn and I said, I just woke up one day and said to Lynn, I'm going to the university and look for a master's program. He says, did you see an advert? I said, no. He says, so how do you think it's going to work? I was like, I'm just going to knock the doors.
Yeah. No
Right?
candy shall be opened.
Yeah. The least that they can do is just to say no to me. But otherwise, I'm just going to knock the doors and tell them who I am. So I woke up the following morning by 8 o'clock. By 7:30, I was outside. So I could see the professors who were going in and knowing their rooms. So and so is in today, so and so is in today, and so is in today. So I said, okay, they started at 8 o'clock. I don't want to come in when they're still setting themselves up. Let me give them about 15 minutes and then I'll start door knocking. So I went the first one, knocked, hello, hello, and then there was no one who answered. The next one, hello, hello, and then no one answered. And then the third one, I knocked, says, oh, hello. Says, what can I do for you? I said, oh, my name is Isabella. I'm looking for research work. If you've got anything that I can do, says, research work? It says, yes. Did you see an advert? I said, no. I've just come to tell you about what I can offer you. So I actually presented my CV verbally. And it took me 10 minutes to present myself and for him to say, oh, that would actually be very interesting. You actually did a project for your third year, for your final year on pectin extraction. I said yes. Said, oh yeah, we specialize in carbohydrates in this lab. You'll be a very good person to work with. All right. So what I'm going to ask you to do is, I want you to go and write a 500-word research proposal. Right? During that time in the 80s, there were no computers, so you'll be writing by hand. You scramble the paper, you throw it away, you write it again. Because you wanted the English to be right, you didn't want any lines. So, and then after I did that, I finished, and then I came back. He says, come back at 2 o'clock. Then we can meet. Then I came back around 1:30, because they were a team that he was already supervising. And I said, I want to learn what this team is doing, so that by the time I see him, I can actually tell him where I can fit.
Yeah. Wow.
My application was verbal, all of it.
Wow.
So I was talking to these ladies. I just introduced myself, and one of the person who was in that one is Catherine Chidewe.
I know Catherine. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
she was also supervised by the same. So I was talking to the students there and all the staff. The supervisor came back from lunch. He sees me. I'm laughing as if I've met them before. He just stood and looked at me like, and then the other one says, "Oh yeah, Isabella is just yeah, I know," but he doesn't. It seems like he's fitted with the team as if you've seen it. Everyone was like, yes, she's really fitted with the team. Like she's been here days, and then he says, "Okay, give me 2 minutes." Right? So already he was impressed by the way I was interacting with the team inside the lab. And then when you went in, I said, okay, give me what is it that you've done? I produced my proposal, which was written on paper. He read it and said, come and start tomorrow.
Wow.
That's how I started my master's. And then I did my master's for 18 months. I wrote papers out of my master's, and they said, because you've published papers out of your master's, we're converting it to PhD.
Wow.
So, and then that's when I did my PhD. And then I graduated in 2000. So it's kind of like my application to have my PhD was all verbal with no CV, no written CV.
And I mean, it does seem like there wasn't any CV, but there was some work going on in the background because you're talking about the passion that you
Mm,
heard.
mm,
And
mm.
that is one of the things that I would like you to speak, particularly to young people. I know my niece, Stacy, she's a nutritionist as well. And she will benefit from understanding a little bit about these careers because, as you're saying, like you didn't do a CV, you were there verbally, but the way you communicated yourself, the way you were able to kind of like show yourself and show the passion. You went into this place and you were like, I am going just to be the best, as Abby was telling us on Wednesday, the best version of me. And just want you to speak to some people who will be young in this like field, maybe nutrition in food, and they're wondering, where can I start from? Your story goes back to, like, it seems like they've been ups and downs, but eventually you were able to achieve your goal. And now you are assistant professor. At the same time, you are as well at the moment as we speak a doctor. You're doing so many things, registered nutritionist, registered sensory scientist. And Stacey is saying, yes, please share your like practical tips. How can they be able to do this themselves to be able to get to where, or even better, to where you are at the moment?
Right. The most important thing that I could say is identify who you are
Mm,
and where your passion is. If you have got passion in helping people, regardless of where you go, you still be helping people.
yeah.
My passion was in finding solution in diabetes and hypertension. And when I was doing analytical biochemistry, I don't think people were thinking I'm going to achieve it. But after I
Mm,
finished my analytical biochemistry, I went and did a master's in human nutrition and metabolism.
yeah.
Right?
Again, it shows nothing is limiting, isn't it?
Yes.
Because I've taught with Isabella, and every time they talk about physiology and biochemistry, everybody's like, that's not for me. Isabella's like, I'm going to be teaching that because she has done that
Yeah.
as something that she was, like, it didn't really seem, how does that help you with nutrition?
Yeah.
But there you go.
Yes, because you need to understand how does hypertension. If I'm saying to somebody, you have got high blood pressure and you are not supposed to eat anything with sodium in
Mm,
it, what does the sodium do to you?
yeah.
Right? If I'm saying you're not supposed to eat bananas, what is it that is in bananas that can actually interfere with the physiology of the person?
Mm,
So my first degree helped me to understand the physiology of and the biochemistry of a person, and
yeah.
also the manufacturing of food and all the stuff. And then what I'm trying to say is, if you have got a passion for something, don't look for obstacles. Look at
Yeah.
opportunities from the
Yeah.
things that you do have.
Mm,
Right? You go and work in ASDA, right? And you are doing shelving of foods and all the stuff. Look at how is nutrition actually being applied in that environment,
mm, mm,
right? You don't mix these vegetables with those ones because when the other ones are ripening, they pick the other one and then they make them right. Even when you are
overripe. Yeah.
is overripe, and
Mm,
there are these ones here they grow mold quicker, and these ones can easily be contamination. So there is some way of applying your to a person who is walking on the street like what how would I apply nutrition in ASDA, right? And then
mm,
there are all these things about best before dates and all the
yeah.
stuff. They are all things that a food scientist actually applies to.
Yeah.
All right. So look at it and say, what is it? And there's also the other thing where people are actually now with the hardships of finances, people are
Yeah.
coming into the shop with a list of items to buy
Yeah. Yeah.
because they're doing their menu for the week.
Mm,
Right. So I want this for Monday, I want this for Tuesday, I want this for Thursday, I want this for this day. These are my 7 days. They come to you as someone who works in Asda. Okay, I can't find this product here. What is it that you think I can actually put in place of that?
Yeah.
Right? Being a nutritionist does not only necessarily mean that you apply yourself when you are talking to a client. It
Yeah.
applies everywhere.
Absolutely.
Right? Someone actually has got a child who is not eating well.
Yeah.
Right? How do you come in to actually help with that child? Right?
Yeah.
What are the suggestions that you do? And
Mm.
sensory science tells me that, there is genes that comes in. Kids are actually still developing their sensory um, taste buds to
Mm.
like bitterness, sweetness, and all the stuff. And there are also allergies that also
Yeah.
comes up with it. Right?
Yeah.
Some allergies come early, some allergies come later on. You know, you you you, you tend to come in there and ask, what is it? Oh, my child is having eczema and all this stuff. What type of food can they avoid? What type of food
Yeah.
can they actually eat? So as a nutritionist, if you apply yourself constantly, you see that you get this satisfaction
Yeah.
in your, that you feel
Yeah.
like, what, I'm, I'm not going to give this to anybody.
Mm. Mm.
Because this
Mm.
is part of me, right? And that is actually happens with me at times. I go into a gathering, all right? I just feel like, Isabella, yeah, yeah, you're not at work, all right? But at the
Yeah.
same time, I
Mm.
say I'm not at work, but I'm an advocate for good nutrition, and I'm an advocate for food safety. If there's anything that is being done that is compromising those two, I open my mouth and talk about it.
It's so strange that you say talk about that because about 3 weeks ago there was the Newport show, which is like a family show for the whole of the United Kingdom. There are so many people that came in, and so my little boy and myself we go for this show. I was doing some voluntary work, and my son tells me he wanted to eat some food, and I'm standing there. I said, okay, fine, I'm gonna buy it, and I'm standing there. I'm seeing this guy mixing. He had like raw chicken and cooked chicken and was mixing the spoons and everything he was doing. Like, and I was like, hey, what are you doing? Don't do that. You know, I am a food scientist. What you're doing is wrong. You're going to cause food poisoning. And this guy looked at me and was like, we are sorry, we are sorry, we are sorry. You know, at the end of the day, they got to a point they actually had to make a fresh food for my son. And I was just like, oh wow, that's really interesting. Isabella, I would like to hear a little bit more of your story. But before we progress, I just want us to take a little bit time to look at the charts. If there's anything that you feel like you want to comment on, so that we can be able to answer that as we go.
Okay.
And for those who are joining us, Abby, it's great to see you online now. And she's saying here, if you, let me see, what did she say? If you, I might have to do that on here. Maybe that will be quick and easier. She's saying if you look for something, look at opportunities and not the obstacles. That's amazing. And of course, your friend Lynn, I think, is online today. Stacey is
Oh,
talking about that being empowering, which is saying Stacey is not happen. She's my little niece, and she's done this journey of food science and nutrition. Kind of, it tells you which kind of an auntie I am. Very influential. Don't say I say that, but she was saying like that's quite empowering in a sense to be able to hear your story. I just want to go a little bit more into kind of, you talked about sensory and you've talked about nutrition. It looks like a little bit of a mouthful, but how does these two different fields interconnect? Where do they meet up and where do they find a connection?
right. Remember, I said I'm going to. My goal from 8 years old was to find a solution for obesity, hypertension,
Mm,
and diabetes.
yeah,
Okay, right?
yeah,
I'm going to answer my question using that.
wow.
Okay. Studies have actually been done which shows that people who like sugary foods will end up with a high BMI.
Mm,
But it's not like they just like sugary foods. These people are moving from bitter foods and getting comfort in the sweet foods.
Mm.
So what they do is when they eat something, everybody does that. You actually put something in your mouth within the first 10 seconds. I don't like it.
Yeah.
Right? And some of them, they actually, before, because they've got volatile compounds that are in there, before you even put inside the mouth, you sniff it, you pick
Mm.
out that you've got sensory buds, which is kind of like within your nose, your mouth, your gut. It's actually there. That's the reason why if you actually smell something, it enranges you and you want to throw up from there,
Mm.
from the stomach, is because you've got those buds which picks up those chemicals that are inside the food and say this is bitter, this is
Mm.
sweet.
Mm.
Right? So you'd find that on our tongue we can pick up sweetness, we can pick up sourness, we can pick up what is called umami, we can pick up
Mm.
chilliness, we can, all these are all chemicals that are inside the body, which when you put them inside the mouth, these taste buds, they go in like a lock and key. Yes,
Yeah.
this is sucrose. No, this is glufosinate, or this is this. So they pick up those ones and then translate that information into your brain to actually say that is bitter, that is sweet.
Mm.
But that has got an impact in the foods that we eat. That at times you end up some. I think in Africa, people tend to say, "Oh, this person has got a sweet tooth."
Mm.
The teeth have got no sensitive things. It's just that.
So that could be something new that you picked up. There's no sensitivity on the teeth.
No, there are no taste buds on the teeth. But we
There you
say
go.
this person has got a sweet tooth. So it's
Mm-hmm.
somebody who actually likes sweet foods. But what it means is they also don't like bitter foods.
Mm.
So they are getting comfort in sweet foods. And the people who are sensitive to sweet foods, they also get comfort in the bitter foods. And you find
Mm.
that those people who like those bitter foods and all the stuff, their risk of developing cancer and things like that are very low, because in these bitter foods there are chemicals which are called phytochemicals,
Yeah.
which tend to help them to fight the development of cancer. So there is these two worlds now that you actually have: the obese people and people who develop cancer. But
Mm.
they are all linked together with sensitivity in our mouths, which influences us the type of food that we eat, and which also predispose us to different diseases that we end up
Mm.
having because
So
of the food that we are eating.
So, do you want to tell me, like, if I have no genes whatsoever that predispose me to cancer, but depending on the food that I eat, I can actually end up with cancer because of my diet or my dietary behavior?
Yes, because there is also some type of cancers which are dietary related. And in those phytochemicals that I'm talking about, there are things that are called antioxidants,
Mm.
and these antioxidants tend to scavenge reactive oxidative species that will just be flowing. There's nothing that you've done wrong, but they're just flowing in your blood and everything. If there's
Mm.
nothing that is scavenging that, they can end up doing what is called destruction of the body,
Mm.
and that can also lead to certain types of cancers.
Wow. So as we're continuing, if you have any questions for Dr. Nyambayo, please leave it in the chat. We'll have a little bit towards the end, some of the questions just to be able to answer them. Because again, as I said, it's kind of trying to understand the link between nutrition and the link with sensory, because she's really good in these two areas, and trying kind of in a way to educate us how we can be able to maybe prevent some of these diseases through the senses that we have and through the choices that we make when it comes to the food. I just want to go back to another question now, slightly twisting, which will go back still to sensory and nutrition, but just trying to help our viewers and our audience this afternoon to understand back into your experiences, Isabella.
Mm.
How have those experiences, your journeying back into coming away from Zimbabwe, all the way now into England and working at a local university. How have those learning experiences, in a sense, helped you in your practice as not just a nutritionist, which you've said wherever you go, you always have your hat on, you always are very, very, very careful with nutrition, with food safety, etc., but also as somebody who's not just living it, but he's teaching it to other people as well?
Thank you so much for the question, Claire. What drives me is passion.
Mm,
Like what I was saying, that I look at myself that this is my time to bank, and I'll unbank when I'm older.
absolutely.
And each time I'm actually like having or spending time with students,
Mm,
I really want to nurture their goals.
yeah.
I know that my goal, the goals that I've achieved in my life, were because I actually saw other role models.
Mm,
And those role models helped me to actually know that it can be done.
yeah.
So I want to nurture their goals and
Mm,
help them to achieve their goals. So what at times
mm,
what I do is when they come in as first years, I tend to ask, what do you want to do when you finish this course? All right. Some of the students might actually be surprised that I asked them in first year, but in third year, I'll still be remembering that. Because all what I'm doing, even if it's a project, even if it's an activity that we have, if I have got an opportunity to link what I am doing with their goals,
mm,
I'll have achieved my role as a facilitator of learning.
yeah.
Because the moment we separate the goals from what we are learning, people tend to feel like I don't think it's helping me at all,
Yeah.
because I don't understand where this is coming to that. Or I don't
Mm,
understand how doing this is going to help me with my profession.
mm,
Right? Like for example, you ask somebody to say, go and do a placement in ASDA. I'm a nutritionist. I'm going to be working with clients. Why should I go in ASDA? But there is a
mm,
lot that is in there. So what I tend to do is to bring that out so that
mm,
when they are in ASDA, they actually know that for me to achieve what I need to achieve, I need to understand this, I need to understand that. Then it's also you need to understand the shopping
yeah.
that your client does when you have done your menu. You've given them a list of things to go and buy. What are the
Mm,
what are the things that they actually find out when they get into the shop? And
yeah.
how does this help you as a nutritionist to achieve your goals, to make sure that they maintain their weight, to make sure that their planned meals are achieved? You actually tend to understand how these retailer shops are, are operated and all the stuff. And also, and then there is also the other part of cultural differences,
Mm,
right? If you would tell me about an eggplant
mm,
in Africa, we're like, right? But here, there are a lot of them in
it's
the shop.
normal. Mm,
Okay, right? So them working in ASDA, they will be in a position to be exposed to a lot of food brands that are there, so that when they are planning meals, they actually know that, oh, there's this, or that there's this, or there's this. In Africa, we have got milli meal, but in UK there's no milli meal. There is mashed potato. So if
mm,
I'm planning, this is so I tend to see how my journey was,
mm,
that when I was even doing consultation well, for some other clients, I could tell the struggles that they would make when they were filling in the food diary. And then I would
mm,
sit down and say, okay, can you explain to me this food that you're talking about? How does it look like? All right.
yeah.
Can you take the picture from the internet and show me how this food look like? And then I said, oh,
Mm-hmm.
okay, here you can't find this, but something that is similar to this is this one here.
Yeah.
So it's helping them to understand where the activities that they're doing and how these
Mm,
activities helps them to achieve their goals and their roles in whatever activity that they're doing. And I also
absolutely.
look at perception, right?
Mm,
Like what you said, I like the way you said when you came in, and I really embraced you with two hands and was working with you and all this stuff, if I have just looked at it and said, yeah, well, she has got a PhD like me, so, right? The
Mm-hmm.
perception was going to be, she has got a PhD, she knows what she's doing. But there are
Yeah,
some certain things that you learn from other people that you can find in books.
absolutely.
And then there's also certain influences that can even take you away from your goals.
Mm,
Right? You can easily say, oh, yeah, yeah, I like what Claire's doing. She's doing this, she's doing that, she's doing that. Yeah, I want this. But then you sit down and but I don't like that. Right? So there's all these things of influences. And then someone can even come and say, Claire, you're doing nutrition. Where do you think you're going to get a job?
mm. You had Abby's story, isn't it? She's talked about that on Wednesday. Yeah.
Yeah. Where do you think I'm going to get a job? And then I can actually sit down and say, this is what the person is saying, and this is
Mm,
reality.
mm.
Right? And your own perception. Do you feel confident when you're talking about your passion?
Yeah,
If you're confident yourself, no one will take you away from it.
absolutely. So,
Believe me,
Isabella,
yeah.
because I don't want to take more of your time. I know you're quite a very busy person. So we
Okay.
start to kind of figure out how to finish this in an hour's time. I'm going to put you on spot.
Okay.
In 3 to 5 minutes, could you do for me a speedy consultation? So I am a client. I've come to you and I want to lose weight. I have my BMI is 30 and I have my kilograms. My weight is about, when I've told you the BMI, and I am coming to you with all these experiences that you have. I just want to do a quick consultation so that it can give somebody an idea of what a nutritionist can actually do.
Right. Thank you so much for asking that question on consultation. The first thing that you need to do with the first meeting that you do with a client is getting to know your client.
Mm,
Right? What I mean getting to know your client is, why are they here? Right? Claire has got a BMI of 30, yes. So why is she here?
mm,
Does she want to fit in a wedding dress? Is it that she's been told you are pre-diabetic, so you need to lose weight?
mm,
Or has she seen some incidences of people who were within the same weight who have been collapsing and having heart attacks and all this stuff, and she's actually being proactive?
mm,
Get to know why they're actually there,
mm.
and then get to know their goals.
Yeah.
What do they want to achieve with their visit to you? All right. You don't sit there and tell them, well, I know this is, you're supposed to do this, you're supposed to do that, you're supposed to. No, you are a facilitator of their
Mm,
achievements. So you need to know them first, know what they want to achieve, know how they want to do it. Right? There are
mm.
some who actually say, I want to lose weight in 2 weeks, 2 kgs in 2 weeks. That's my goal. Because my wedding is in 3 weeks. I want to fit in this wedding dress. Right? So
Yeah.
yes. So, and then after you've listened to why they've come to see you, you now need to take medical history,
Mm,
lifestyle history,
mm,
diet history,
mm,
as well as physical activity history.
mm,
That helps you when you are dealing with them to say, if they've got a medical condition, you need to work with a dietitian to pair up,
mm,
so that whatever the medication that they're taking, they have got somebody we have got who can actually tell them. And then in terms of physical history and weight management history as well, they might actually have been in a yo-yo. They lose weight, it comes back. They lose weight, it comes back. And now they've reached a point where they're actually frustrated.
mm.
Right? So you want to manage that part of frustration. So,
So,
so
as you're trying to
mm,
manage that, there's just a question that has dropped into the chat. I'm
mm.
adding you some more things about this consultation. This person has got hormonal weight gain and they need to know how to be able to handle that. So, would you talk a little bit about that, Isabella?
Hormonal weight gain is in two parts. There's somebody who has got who's taking hormonal therapy tablets. So that one you have to work with the dietitian.
Mm.
And then there is some who actually gain weight because they've given birth and they can't lose to their where they were. So those hormonal changes when they were pregnant has left them with an extra weight. So
Mm.
that one you can wait. And then there is also hormonal um of the 28-day cycle.
Yeah.
So you need to find out to say this hormonal gaining of weight, which one are you dealing with?
Mm.
Right? If it is the one that's the for menstrual cycle and all the stuff, what they need to do is increase their level of activity during the time where they're menstruating, or probably a week before that to a week after. That
Mm.
manages their hormonal imbalance.
Mm-hmm.
And then they also need to look at what are they eating. Are they eating normally? Are they overeating? Are they craving for something? Because there are
Mm.
some people who actually develop cravings because of um that hormonal imbalances. And then you might actually want to look at it, the age of the person. Is the
Yeah.
person actually going into menopause?
Mm. That's perimenopausal, and the question has actually added on
Yeah.
there if the person is perimenopausal. So we are talking into hormones related to perimenopause.
Yes. So you'd find that the hormones relating to perimenopause are kind of like related a little bit to hormones of the menstrual cycle,
Mm.
because that's when you are actually coming away from there. And then those hormones are kind of like finding their balance. So you might
Mm.
see that the way you would treat someone who is still in their menstrual cycles and the one who's going into menopause might be almost the same, because it's the same hormones that you are dealing with. And that's part of exercise, good diet, good hydration, and good sleep is a
Mm.
very key combination to make sure that the weight is actually managed.
So, Isabella, have you ever heard of the story to do with soya and the what is the estrogen like mimic that is in soya that can help with menopause? Have you ever heard of that? Would you like to comment a little bit about that? We did not plan this beforehand, but because you have talked through the journey of a nutritionist on the things that you can do, you've talked about consultation. That's why I say do a speedy consultation. You've talked about diet related diseases, and now you're looking at things like menopause, perimenopause, things like that. So, have you ever heard of this story about soya and the role it plays during menopause?
Um, I would actually say scientifically it's not proven,
Mm.
but biologically or physically, it's like someone who eats soil when they've got lack of iron,
Yeah.
or someone who eats chalk because they've got lack of iron.
Mm.
There's no iron in chalk, but there is something that is in there that tends to kind of like mimic that part. There's a protein in soya that mimics the protein of the estrogen that the body thinks, oh yeah, the level is high,
Mm.
but it's a kind of like an untruthful way of dealing with it.
Yeah.
It's the real
So
one
it's
who,
more of an anecdotal evidence. So something that
yeah,
people will say because I was in menopause and I ate lots of soya, it helped me. And it's the same thing where people say, don't give soya to male children because it got these testosterone like
yeah,
mimicking
yeah,
that can actually impact on fertility and things like that of
yes,
boy
yeah,
children. So
yes,
it's more of something to you need to gauge a little bit more and understand more. And of course, we cannot do a consultation on a YouTube live stream. It is something that you need to speak to a nutritionist. They can assess your condition or your journey with you. As Abby was telling us, they do life coaching, we do nutritional coaching, health coaching. We can go through the whole process and then be able to give you some advice so that we don't end up taking too much time. Isabella, what is your take home message from today's session?
my take home message is develop and nurture your passion.
Mm.
No one should be in a position to tell you that what you want to do cannot be done.
Mm.
Identify the threats and opportunities.
Mm.
And when I say opportunities, don't see a window as a small opening high in the wall, but look at a window as an opportunity to actually get the sunlight through through that one to have your vitamin D.
Mm. Absolutely. Wow.
Okay, so it's things like that that look at the opportunities in every situation that you are in on
Mm.
how to build your career.
Mm.
Also look at nutrition planning, meal planning, weight management, good health practices,
Yeah.
portion control, right? And even things like when you're at work, right? A lot of people bring cakes and this and that. Do you
Temptations.
move away from your plan that you've said because, oh, there's this, oh, there's that? You know, what I tend to do at times is if I have eaten something, like I say to myself, I only eat a chocolate once in a day. So if someone brings me a chocolate and I've eaten already a chocolate, I tend to kind of like put it aside and tell the person that, no, I'm putting it aside because I've eaten, but I'll eat it at some point.
Mm.
All right. Stick to your plan, and at the end, make sure that you are not kind of like influenced by the environment. It's
Mm.
good at times to be influenced by the environment, but if it is influencing you negatively, make sure that you look at yourself and put your foot down and dig your heels in to say, I'm not going to give in.
And it doesn't mean that you will not be tempted. That's the thing, because you don't want
Yes.
to say like you are a saint that will never fall into temptations. But
No.
what I usually say, like for me, what I do, as just Isabella was talking about your environment, like in my house, it's not that always I eat 100% this confession every single time healthily, but I have those treats. This afternoon, I'm taking my little man out. We're going for a meal out because I feel like after all these, like he's on 6 weeks holiday, I can treat him. But it's not that we don't do treats every single day. When I come from home, when I come back home, when I do my shopping, you find I have bananas on the like strategic places. I have like apples in strategic places, and then chocolates tend to be in the top of the fridge. So by the time I'm getting to a chocolate, I've already seen a banana, and that kind of, by the time I've eaten a banana, it's kind of making those healthy choices. But you can't make healthy choices when you are already in the place of compromise. You cannot
Yeah.
say to yourself like, oh, I'm in this place, and you start praying, God, deliver me from this chocolate, when you have actually put yourself in there. Sometimes, as the Bible clearly says, some things you just have to take off and go, and sometimes not taking off and going might mean changing your shopping habits. When you buy a lot, if you know that in your house you're dotted around with all these temptations and things like that, start removing them. I'm not saying take your food and put it in the bin, but you can start, okay, when you eat, don't refill it, so that at the end of the day, you are kind of ensuring that your environment around you is much more a healthy environment. When you have, again, as I say, those treats, let them be really, really treats and not them
Yes.
becoming the normal thing. Or anything else you would like to add, Dr. Nyambayo?
And also in terms of portion control, at times we have got spoons, we have got cups and all this stuff in our own household, and then we when we go out, we can tell what it is. There are all sorts of ways that you can do, like for example, your palm like this is equal to a spoon of rice and things like that, that you can
Mm.
kind of like equate, so that whatever you're eating is not as is not diverting much from what you would want to eat when you're at home.
Absolutely. But you and I will be coming back with these lunchtime talks. So,
Yes.
guys, you need to watch out this space. We'll do more of these. But just before we go, just a few more comments that we've found come in. Thank you so much. Mine says, yes, cravings. Gosh, fries, crisps, cream, chocolate. When you have cravings, you just have got to say, no, thank you, or run away.
Cravings, Claire, come from abstinence.
There
They
you
need
go.
to they need to look at quantities that they're eating. They reduce the
Yeah,
quantities, and not they do not abstain from anything. Cravings are driven by abstinence. So I think we should actually have a kind of like a lunchtime talk on cravings.
cravings.
Yeah.
We'll do that. I promise you, we'll do that. And then there's another talk, of course. My dear friend Favor says, good information, ladies. Lynn says, agreed. Abby says she's learned quite a lot. She would like us to come back again and tell them how to best nourish their bodies. I love Dickens, you saying, very insightful. Thank you, ladies. I think I need to read on my device there. That's much more bigger.
Okay.
What did Dickens say? Thank you to the two of you, brainy ladies. Keep on soaring high and above the clouds. Abby is smiling. I can see that. Of course, at the end of the day, where can people find you, Isabella, if anybody wants to contact you?
Right. They can find me on my Google channel. Is called Food Science and Nutrition. I will also go onto the chat and type in, and people can actually sign up on that. And if they
Yeah,
send me a message, I will respond. But before I can actually wrap up everything, I would actually want to talk about this word called impossible.
yeah,
Right.
go ahead.
Right. There is a word called is impossible. Impossible is just a word that is thrown around, right? It's not a fact, but it's an opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever you're thinking right now, you want to do in terms of your career development, in terms of what you're doing in your job right now, there's nothing impossible. You just need
Mm,
to dare to change those things that you think are not making you perform. All right. And then look at impossible as something that is bringing potential,
mm,
makes you look at. So there's nothing like it's impossible for me to lose weight. It's
mm,
impossible for me to stop eating chocolates.
mm,
Or it's all temporary. It just makes you to dare yourself that I am going to get out of this. This is a word that has just been thrown around, and I can actually do something. And what I'm saying is impossible is nothing to those who dare.
absolutely.
So
And I usually say to my son, he can do anything if he works hard in it. He can be wherever he wants to be because there is nothing like, as Abby was saying on Wednesday, there's nothing that is reserved for the few chosen. But if you work hard and if you're determined, impossibilities can become possibilities.
exactly.
Ladies and gentlemen, what a privilege and an honor it has been this afternoon to host my dear friend and colleague, Dr. Nyambayo. I hope you've enjoyed this session. And if you want to put it in the chat just to thank Dr. Nyambayo for me, look out on this again channel. As I said, love on her, subscribe to her channel, reach out to her, do some consultations with her, wherever that you need to do that will be amazing. Myself and Dr. Nyambayo will be coming back. As I said, we'll try to do more often, maybe on her channel or my channel. More of these lunchtime talks. We'll come up with different topics to talk to you guys. It's been a great pleasure having all of you guys connecting with us. And if you're watching this in real time or in time to come, thank you very much for connecting with us. Thank you so much, Dr. Nyambayo. I really appreciate you. I really love you, and I'm so grateful to have you this afternoon. Thank you, all of you. We're going to sign out today, but it doesn't mean the end. Keep on coming back to this channel, checking up information on what we are doing, and we'll be more than happy to continue to serve you, to continue to share this knowledge that we have been given, not freely, but freely in a sense, so that we can share with you guys. Have a lovely weekend, everyone. Take care. God bless you, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye
Thank you
bye.
so much. Thank you.
You're
Bye bye.
welcome.
Bye.
Thank you so much as well. Bye.